Today we want to talk about the mounting of a bulkhead angle to a concrete surface. So the board safe angle, as you can see, comes pre-prepped. It has the hinges attached. It has the holes drilled in the vertical face and also in the horizontal face for the fasteners. I'd like to talk about the tools that are required to do an installation as well. We're going to need a hammer drill with a 1/2-inch bit. We're going to need hammers for when we insert the fasteners. We'll need a layout square. We're going to need a 3/4 inch wrench and ratchet. We're going to need a drill driver with a hex bit in it to drive the fasteners for the vertical surface. One of the things that's very important to have is anti-seize, and anti-seize will ensure that the stainless steel fasteners don't get bound up. One of the other real important things is having a compressor, and the compressor is very key in making sure that the holes after they're drilled in the concrete are cleaned out so there's no binding. The fasteners that we're going to be using, a drop-in anchor, which is a 3/8/16 stainless steel drop-in anchor that you can see here, which goes on your surface on the top, and then standard wedge bolts, which will be used in the vertical face. Also, tape measure, some tape, and a Sharpie for marking out. The tool that you see to the right of the tape measure is actually a tool that's used for setting the drop-in anchors. So we're going to get started and talk about how we lay things out. Normally what we want to do is take our tape measure, and we want to find the center line point of the length of the mounting angle. So Jason's going to put a center line mark on the concrete and then transfer that with a square, which he's already done. And then he's also going to put a center line mark on the angle itself so that the center line of the concrete and the center line of the bulkhead mounting angle line up when he goes to mount it. So he's already done this ahead of time. So another thing that's really important before we put the angle down to consider is to make sure that your concrete is level across the front, and that everything is nice and straight when the concrete is formed or poured, so that when the angle, which is an extrusion, is put into place, that there are no issues with any type of bowing, and that the angle will properly seat. So now that we have the concrete laid out and the angle laid out, we'll take the angle and we'll set it over the marks that Jason just made, lining up the angle mark with the mark on the concrete. Okay, so you can see we have a really good fit. Now what Jason's doing is he's going back, and now he's marking out for the fasteners on the horizontal surface or your walking surface, the top. So what Jason will do then is, once the layout is complete, he'll take the hammer drill and he'll drill the holes. Now with these particular inserts, it's really key that the depth of the hole is at the perfect location. And what I mean by that is the sleeves, if the sleeves are too deep into the concrete, and you go to put the bolts in, the bolts might be, won't engage into the fastener. So it's really important that as we go through the process here, you understand. So what Jason's going to do is he's going to take a fastener now. He's going to take the drill and he's going to measure the fastener and the fastener length, and as far as determining the embedment. So he's going to show, you can see that the embedment is approximately 1 3/16 inches. So we want to take our 1 3/16 inches plus our thickness of our angle, and Jason's going to measure on the bit and put a piece of tape there. First, he's going to put a mark on there, the 1 3/16 inches plus the thickness of the angle, and he's going to put a piece of tape onto the bit, which will act as a visual stop when he's drilling the holes. Again, this will ensure that the depth of the hole isn't too shallow, number one, or secondly, isn't too deep, and that you get the depth of penetration that is required for these inserts. So now that Jason has put the tape on there, the next step is he's going to go through and he's going to drill the holes. Now, one of the really nice parts to our system is that once the angle is set, Jason can drill the holes, or you can drill the holes on site, and the angle isn't going to have to be removed. So normally what we'll do is we'll drill the first hole. So Jason can go ahead and start drilling that hole. So as you can see, Jason drilled down to the top of the tape mark, and now one of the most important things that he's doing is he's blowing out the debris that came out, cleaning out the hole again, and then he'll make sure that the hole is totally cleaned out, because there could be issues with the fastener not properly seating with the debris in there. So what Jason will do next is he'll take the fastener, he'll separate the fastener from the insert itself, and then he will grab the setting tool, and once he has the setting tool ready to go, he'll put that inside the fastener. So Jason, if you want to do that, so he's going to drop the fastener down into the hole, and sometimes it takes with the hammer just a little bit of coaxing because the tolerances are close. So he'll tap that in, and then he's going to use that setting tool to the wider end of the setting tool to drive that fastener in. So Jason has, you can hear that it's seated now. So now what he's going to do is he's going to flip that tool around, and he's going to then go and seat the fastener. So what happens is when he is with the smaller end, when he puts it in the fastener and he hits it with the sledge, it's actually pushing a sleeve down, and it's opening up the bottom of the fastener and grabbing to the side of the concrete. So now that is fastener insert is fully engaged. So now what Jason's doing next is he's going to take and put some anti-seize onto the fastener before he puts it in the hole. So now what he's going to do is he's going to engage that in the threads, and then he's going to get the driver with the hex bit in it, and he's going to snug up the fastener. So it's pretty much as simple as that. So now we have the attachment. The angle is set. We can now go and drill all of the other holes. So Jason will start drilling the other holes and repeating the process that he just showed you, in that first hole. Again, very important to make sure that the holes are clean before the fastener is inserted. Now that Jason has all the holes drilled, again, he's going to go back through, make sure that all the dust and dirt is removed so there's no binding when he puts the insert into the pre-drilled hole. Really good idea to have all your tools and all your fasteners close by. This process should take approximately about 15 to 20 minutes from beginning to end. And so what you see Jason doing is now he's going back through and he's going to set all the fasteners into the remaining 4 holes. Now your gangway mounting angle might look a little bit different when it comes out to you. It might be shorter, it might be longer. If you have one of our kayak launches which has a chute incorporated in, the length of it might be up to close to 11 feet. But that's so that it supports the chute and the gangway. But the process for installing is identical to what Jason is demonstrating right now. So again, what he's doing now is he's going back with the small end of the setting tool, and he's flaring out the bottom of the drop-in fasteners to make sure that they are adhered to the concrete or engaged in the concrete. And then again, another really important part of this is making sure that you're putting anti-seize on the stainless steel fasteners before you insert them. So that's one of the things Jason's working on right now, is just putting the anti-seize on the fasteners. So the fasteners will go in. He has 2 more to put in here, and then once those fasteners are in, then he will go back and tighten those down and engage those, and then the top of the angle will be fully attached, and we'll be ready to start on the vertical face. I mentioned using anti-seize. It's very critical that on all stainless steel fasteners, no matter what part of the process you're doing the assembly on one of our dock systems, that anti-seize is used to ensure that you don't get binding when you're tightening a fastener, because you'll literally never get them apart. So now the angle is fully attached. Jason just going back and just making sure that everything is tight and there's no issues. The other reason that we put the anti-seize on, if for any reason that you ever have to take the mounting angle off, it'll allow you to remove those fasteners. So the next thing that Jason's going to do now is put in the vertical fasteners, which Jason, if you want to show us what one of the fasteners looks like. So we use a stainless steel wedge bolt, which you can see is about 5 inches long. So we have pretty substantial engagement into the concrete on the vertical face. So in this particular project, we have 4 vertical fasteners, and we offset those from where the location of the inserts are above, just to ensure that when we're drilling either the holes in the top or the holes in the face, that the fasteners aren't in the same location and there could possibly be interference. So what Jason's going to do, again, he's going to measure the fastener as far as the length of it, and then he's going to put another tape stop onto the drill bit on the hammer drill as well. Now, this depth isn't as critical, but there's no need to drill deeper than you need to. These particular fasteners, if the threaded section sticks out a little bit farther than necessary, it's not going to be a detriment. But we just want to ensure that we are going deep enough so we do have good engagement with the fastener as they're engineered to do. So now Jason's going to now go through and he's going to drill the 4 holes for those fasteners. You'll notice that Jason also, as he was drilling, he was cleaning out the hole as well. So when he goes back now and finishes up the hole, he'll go back and he'll blow all those holes out just like he did with the holes in the surface above. It's really important to keep the drill perpendicular to the surface also as you're drilling, so that the fastener goes in correctly. So now that Jason has everything pre-drilled, now what he's going to go back through with the air compressor, and he's going to make sure that all the dust is blown out of the hole. So now that the holes are all drilled, Jason's ready to put the wedge bolts in. Before he does that, he's going to want to take the nuts off and put anti-seize. Again, very important to put the anti-seize on. And then it's also important when the washer and nut are put back in, that it's put to the right location. So as you can see, you can just see just a few threads, and that's exactly where you want the engagement of the nut to be, to that point when you drive it in. If it's too far out, you might risk hitting the nut and damaging the nut, which would be a bad condition, because once you put these fasteners in, they're really hard to get out. So it's very important that you take the time to put the anti-seize on, and then secondly, when you put the nut back on, to make sure that it's located in the correct location, so there's not any damage done. Jason, you saw, just put the anti-seize on and then wiped it off. You don't need a big glob of anti-seize. Just enough to make sure that all the threads are covered. It's kind of messy stuff, so you don't want more on there than you need to. So Jason's doing a really nice job making sure that the threads are all coated and that the nut, again, is engaged. So now that Jason has the 4 wedge bolts prepped, he's just going to take a small sledgehammer, place them into the holes, and then he's going to drive them into place. And he can drive them so that the back of the nut is totally tight against the mounting angle, as you can see. So he'll go through and he'll engage all 4 of those. And then what he's going to do is he'll come back then with a 3/4 inch ratchet, and he will tighten all those up to ensure that there's proper engagement with the fastener itself. Because the fastener itself, they call it a wedge anchor, because as you tighten it, the back of the fastener has a tapered sleeve with a collar on it, and that collar, as you the farther you tighten, the more the collar gets engaged into the concrete, and that's what gives you the structure to hold the bolt in place. So now that Jason has all 4 bolts in, he's going to take the ratchet, and he's going to go back through, and he's going to tighten all 4 of the wedge bolts up. Now, as he's tightening right now, he's engaging that sleeve to dig into the concrete. So he's getting, resistance now, which told him that that's as far as he needs to go. Once he has all 4 to that point, he'll go back and he'll just snug all 4 up just to make sure they're good. But you can see where the engagement was when he put the nut on there, which was probably in the 1/4 inch range. He has somewhere between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch now of thread that is being shown. So that's how much the threaded portion pulled out as it engaged into the sleeve. Now what Jason likes to do is he likes to go back and hand tighten them with a wrench just to make sure that we have proper engagement. So you can see he's actually getting a little more out of each one of these using the ratchet wrench to ensure that everything is tight and the bulkhead angle is properly secure. Okay, so that's really the full explanation as to how we install one of our bulkhead angles. As I mentioned, your bulkhead might look a little bit different if it's poured on site. This particular block of concrete is for a project where it's one of our launch-in-a-box systems that comes already with a concrete bulkhead. And what's nice about that system is that we will pre-mount the angle prior to the concrete and your entire system leaving our factory. So this process that I just explained, if you buy a launch-in-a-box, it will already be completed for you, and it's one less step you have to complete on site. So we'd like to thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about the proper way to install one of our mounting angles onto concrete. If this was a wood pier, there would also be a different application as far as attachment, and it's usually based on what your pier construction is. So that has to be something that is figured out kind of on a job-to-job basis. But again, we hope that this was informative and gave you enough information to be able to mount one of the angles on a board-safe dock system to your concrete bulkhead. Thank you.